Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Puja Setia Amalia. I'm from Politeknik Negeri Samarinda. So here I represent my partner. So we're going to present our finding with the title "The Strengths and the Challenges of Using Dialogic Reading to Children in Permata Group." So as we know that there are so many researchers state that reading is an essential part in learning, and it is also very important. It tends to be related to academic success. But unfortunately, teaching reading is a challenging task. It's not easy to teach reading because sometimes students are not motivated to get involved in reading activity. So it also happened in Permata Group, in Samarinda, in Borneo, especially in Kutai Kartanegara. It is quite challenging to teach reading to children in Pramata Group. They do not want to join the activity, and they tend to be passive students, and they do not feel motivated. So that's why the teachers came up with the solution of implementing dialogic reading. So this study discussed the teacher's perception toward the implementation of dialogic reading in Permata Group. The perception here is related to specific set of experience. So it's more to what is it? It's related to students, what the students think about the implementation of dialogic reading, especially about the strengths and the challenges. Okay, so I think I do not need to tell deeply about dialogic reading, but in general, it's about where the reading activity involving techniques and strategies, so that students and teacher can get involved into the dialogue during the reading activity. There is also strategies such as peer and crowd that can lead teachers and students to get engaged in the activity during the reading activity. And then it is a case study. There are 15 students, with 3 teachers. So we use interview, individual in-depth interview. It is a semi-structured interview. So we set some questions before we interview the teachers, and after that, more questions were developed during the interview session, and it was analyzed by Miles Subramanian flow. So we got the findings. There are 7 strengths and 4 challenges of the implementation of dialogic reading to children. So the first one is that we found that the finding shows that there was interactive dialogue between children to children and children to teachers, because the intervention of strategic, which is peer and crowd, stimulated the children to speak up their opinion, questions, and answers. And also, it is in line with the study conducted by Napoleon Johnson, who stated that dialogic reading engaged students to speak, so that there will be interactive dialogue between them. And also, the second finding showed that detailed picture and limited words make the topic more interesting, resulting to children's curiosity and make the children focus with the activity. So when we use dialogic reading in shared reading activity, there are some requirements. For example, there should no the text should be limited, and also the picture should be detailed. So this picture can stimulate students to pay attention and feel curious, and if they feel curious, then they will they will listen to the story carefully, and they may ask questions, and they may guess teachers question. and and um, and moreover, children were not bored, yeah. So their curiosity increased their attention with the book and the reading activity, and resulting to more ideas, questions, and answers. It is related to, or it is in line with Grolich, the study conducted by Grolich, who state that teacher and students can use the picture on the book effectively in the reading activity to stimulate students in the activity. And also, Napoli and Stein and Glenn state that picture on the book stimulate readers' responses and reactions. So the picture in the book are really helpful. And Johnson also add that dialogic reading technique attracts students' attention to listen enthusiastically. And then the third one is the activity engage the children to get involved with the dialogue and the activity. So the children get involved with the dialogue, interaction, and activity. Yeah. So in meeting 5, the end of the activity was making poster. So students did not only get involved during the reading activity only, but they also got involved in the activity of making poster. Moreover, it was done in group work, yeah. So they were so active in making poster. Some of them wrote down some words, and some of them colored something and stick paper on the poster, yeah. So they really they were so active in making poster in group. The studies such as Lanigan, Whiterus, and Zeffenberg state that technique implemented in dialogic reading support students to participate in the reading activity. Furthermore, Doyle and Bramwell adds that the use of the book with the content of socio-emotional, okay, this one is interesting, it can help students' social skills. So it's not only knowledge, yeah, it's not only cognitive, but it's also social skills. It can be done to make students focus on the meaning of the word and practice it. So it can be an experience to students. So it's not only related to cognitive skill, but it's also related to social skill. And the most important is the intervention, because when we apply the strategic of peer and crowd, there is intervention from the teacher. So this intervention, which is the technique of peer and crowd, support the learning new vocabulary, because there were some strategies used by teachers. For example, like look at this, yeah. Do you know what is this, yeah? And then can you say a right track, yeah? For example, like that. So it really help students to acquire new word, yeah. So according to Blawitt, communication strategic used by teacher is effective to stimulate students to think during shared reading activity. Moreover, a study conducted by Ping 2014 state that dialogic reading supports vocabulary learning. So there are so many strategies that state dialogic reading supports vocabulary learning. And then the next one is the activity relates the lesson or the topic with children's experience. So the teacher and the students don't only talk about what is in the book, but they also make relation with the students' experience. Yeah. So the activities or the topic should be based on children's experience in their daily life. Therefore, the picture and the question are related to their experience. So it's not really hard for the students to join the reading activity. Okay, according to Whitehurst, yeah, one of the tactics in dialogic reading is where the teacher's question make the student connect the situation in the picture or words to their life experience. And the next is the activity facilitates skill of socializing. So as we know before that dialogic reading support the children or stimulate the children to speak, to ask, to give ideas, yeah. So it helped them to socialize with their friends, yeah. There will be interaction among peers, yeah, among the students. For example, during the activity, children explain or tell their peers, or even tell the teacher. Moreover, the children work in a team to make poster, in the end of the meeting. And according to Gatswiki, language is a tool to communicate and think. And through language, students can socialize to play and learn. And dialogic reading can help students to practice their skill in language and communicating. And then the next one, the activity needs to be accompanied by, So this one is the challenges, the first one is the activity needs to be accompanied by experienced teachers who know about the logic reading well. Because it's not easy to implement the logic reading. The teachers really need to know the steps. And really need to have experience before she do it alone. And then the next one is the activity is more effective to be implemented in a small group of children. So there were if I'm not mistaken, it's on meeting 2 or meeting 3. The teacher didn't have option, but they combined the students into 2 groups, if I'm not mistaken. So it's kind of big group, and it's not easy, because there are so many students. It's more than 5. So according to Whitehurst, it should be done in a group no more than 5 children. And then it should be, or it is more effective to be implemented in a limited time. It's about 10 to 20 minutes. So Miss Dea at that time in meeting 3, because she had to review some new vocabularies, so she spent more time than the previous meeting. It was about 25 minutes, and the children were bored. And then the activity is more effective to be implemented in a group where the children have the same language proficiency level and same interest. Because when the children have different language proficiency level, then some students may understand the words, some students may not understand, and it's not easy. So if we compare the finding with the previous studies, one of the things that the teacher found was dialogic reading is helpful in learning new words. It helps learners to understand the new English words and enjoy the story. Moreover, it also motivates learners to involve in the dialogue by giving idea, answers, and questions. The previous study conducted by the Temple and Snow states that complicated or unfamiliar words can be introduced to young learners through book reading, and by the support of picture and text in the book. Furthermore, Ping 2017 also found that the logic reading improve young learners' productive and receptive skills. So there are so many studies that state that logic reading really helps students to improve their productive and receptive skill. And despite the strengths, or the advantages, the teachers also feel the challenges, that when they have to implement the logic reading. So one of them is, as I stated before, that the teacher think it should be thought, dialogic reading should be taught by experienced teacher because it's not easy. So a previous study conducted by Urbani 2011 found that teacher who thought reading, dialogic reading, to hard of hearing students, they said that dialogic reading required big effort of teachers to engage students in active participation by paying attention to students' attention and behavior. So it's not easy to teach reading using dialogic reading to children, because sometimes students do not answer the question individually, but they answer it in group, and teacher sometimes got confused, which one that the teacher want to listen. Yeah, and sometimes students' behavior is also an issue for the teacher. I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Puji Astuti Amalia. That was very engaging. Let's give a big round of applause. All right, now let's continue with the second presentation entitled Montessori-based online learning for elementary students, a case study in upper class. It will be presented by Miss Veronica Noviatri Indraswari from Kalika Montessori School. Miss Veronica, you may have your time.
Thank you, Miss Anna. Wait.
Yes, you're welcome.
I'm so nervous because I meet my favorite lecturer here, Miss Frida. I miss you in pronunciation class. Okay, it has been 7 years ago, I think. Yeah. So, good morning, everyone. It's a great occasion for me to share my topic. Well, I can say that this is preliminary research, but this research is still in progress. I haven't finished it, but I can bring you the topics about it. So my title is Montessori-based online learning for elementary students, a case study in upper class. Because I'm an elementary teacher in Montessori program. And this is the picture of the Montessori. Okay, next. The introduction, as we know that because of COVID-19, schools have been encountering the sudden transition from face-to-face to online learning because the government needs to implement like social distancing in every aspect, including schools. That's why it has impacts in the process of learning. Start from preschool and then elementary school and junior, senior high school, and also the university. And this alteration conveys various challenges. If we can surf from the internet or do some little research, there are many challenges like the students' lack of assistance, and then some of them has demotivation, and the newest one is about learning loss. The government are worried about the learning loss. So how to deal with that challenge, with that obstacle? This study, I just want to show you, I just want to demonstrate the Montessori-based approach that are applied to bring online learning into fruition. Because if you know that Montessori, well, actually, it's a hands-on activity. So the students need to be in the class accompanied by the teachers. The teachers need to like observe the students. So it's challenging to bring it into online learning, but our school start to adapt it based on the literary studies. So the research questions that I have, the first one is, how is Montessori-based approach implemented in online learning based on the Montessori theory? And the second, how do students perceive the implementation of Montessori-based approach in online learning? The participants, there are 17 students in upper class. So in my class, I have year 4, year 5, and 6. We have mixed students. So what does it mean by upper class? Upper class is a 3-year program for the level of elementary that serve pupils age 9 up to 12 years. So Montessori believes that class are structured based on the age, based on the same characteristic, which correspond to the planes of development. And she believes that classrooms should be consisted of mixed age and non-graded. Yeah, this class is divided based on the characteristic and based on the planes of development. Next, I will show you the planes of development by Montessori. Now, if you can look at this, because we are in elementary, I am in elementary school, I teach students from 9 up to 12. Those students have almost similar characteristic. That's why they are combined into one class. And in in elementary school, there are two categories. The first one, lower class, start from year 6 up to 9, and then upper class 9 up to 12 in childhood. And if you can see this also, elementary students has the characteristic, the key that we need to highlight is the first one, they do need community validation from their community. They do need friends. And also they do need like exploration, because we know that elementary school is like jungle maybe for them, because students, they are learning new things, yeah, in elementary school. But later in senior and junior high school, they will go deeper about the subjects. But the first things, the new things, they learn from elementary schools. That's why elementary schools are really important to be discussed also. So the method, this study is a qualitative research where the researcher is interested in understanding the participants' experiences toward Montessori-based online learning, and the data is gained and analyzed from library studies, interviews with the students, and students' documents. In this case, I use their list, daily list, and their daily journals. Okay, this is the Montessori theory. The first one is she believes that students learn best when they are interested in something, in subjects that they want to learn. That's why they need freedom of choice. They will be happy if they can do what they have chosen. So we do not force them to, oh, you need to do this, but they have choice. And then the second is circle time as a part of building community. Yeah, if in the previous topic, also discussing about that dialogue reading can also build the students to socialize to others. Circle time also has a part of building community to socialize with others. And then the third one, students requires uninterrupted learning, because she also believes that students can focus and work in silence. So we need to give them room, like a private room, individual room for them to study, something like that. And then raising students' accountability through the work journal. In their journal or in their daily journal, they can record themselves. They can be responsibility about their time. Like, do I manage my time well today? Something like that. And one Montessori theory from 1, 2, 3, and 4, we need, well, the conclusion is we need to prepare the environment. For example, number 1, students learn best when they are interested and they need a choice to be chosen. So the teachers, we need to provide the choice. So it's not only like, okay, you can do anything what you want, just take like Bahasa Indonesia, or you want to do Bahasa Indonesia or English or something like that, but we give choice for them so that they can choose it. Next. Nah, this is the discussion, Montessori-based approaches that are implemented in my school. The first one, supporting students' interests through their daily list. We usually do the daily list in the morning, start from 8 up to 8:30. And yeah, they can choose what I want to finish today. Usually they can make 3 goals, 2, 3 up to 5 goals for today, for the day. Then the second, they can also we also implement circle time. Yeah, start from 8 up to 8:30. this one is interesting in circle time because we can talk about everything, about simple topic. For example, this week in my school, we are talking before we go to the class, the lesson, we are talking about peace. We ask the students to make poetry about peace. We ask the students to do brain gym. I highlight Mr. Willis' presentation that we need to like do the we need to improve students kinesthetic by doing brain gym to make them refresh, relax to do the online learning, because the online learning is it starts from 8 up to 12. Yeah, up to afternoon. So we need implementing circle time. Sometimes we sing a song together, or sharing what is your snack for lunch, have you got your breakfast, something like that. And then providing individual learning chamber in my online learning in Zoom. We, the teacher, also provide like what is that individual learning by making breakout room, so that they can go to their breakout room and do individual learning, or if they have questions, they can ask the host to go to the room, something like that. So we provide privacy for him. And then the fourth, revealing students' feeling and experience through daily journal. Now, in their daily journal, they write down what they have done for today. For example, they can finish 5 assignments, 3 assignments, and then they can also share their feelings. I feel tired, I feel happy, or what happened next. They can share everything. Usually, we also have closing room so that the students can share what I want to do right now, later, after closing, what I'm feeling, what I feel today, something like that. Now, so this is sample of students' daily list and journal. I'm still in progress to collect all the sample of the students. This is from year 6, female. You can see Wednesday, 4th August. This is the daily list. And the daily list should include the exact time. It can help the students to manage their time. And also, for example, she said that today I'm happy in the 4th August. I'm happy because my homework is finished. But in other day, in 30 August, today I feel tired. I'm tired. Yeah, sometimes they feel sad, feel tired, feel happy. That's okay. We teach them to embrace every feeling that they have, or they have like, Miss, I'm bored today. So we like having discussions. So what you will do if you are bored? How to overcome your if you are bored, something like that. Okay, well, actually, still continue to be continued. So thank you. I do hope for your feedback or suggestion to improve myself, to improve my school also, so that I can give my best for my students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Veronica, for the inspiring presentation. Let's give a big round of applause. Okay, now let's continue with the third presentation entitled Learning Prosodic Features in an Online Pronunciation Class, an Account of Students' Engagement. It will be delivered by Ms. Made Frida Yulia from Universitas Sanata Dharma. Ms. Made Frida Yulia, you may have your time. You are still mute, Ms.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, clearly.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Good morning, audience. Thank you very much for being here. And also to Indras, yeah. Nice to see you again, now with the different position as a teacher, with the in experience. Well, on this occasion, I would like to be sharing with you all my research, even though it is still preliminary in nature, actually. It's about students' engagement in learning prosodic features in an online pronunciation class. Well, pronunciation is something which is important, especially when we are dealing with global communication, because whenever we talk with people from different countries, then of course we need to pay attention to this matter. And whenever we have good pronunciation, it will promote our self-confidence as well as revealing good image of the speakers. And it has also been clear that mispronunciation may trigger communication breakdown. As Yates and Zelinsky said, that whenever somebody has good pronunciation, even though he or she makes errors in other areas, her speech or his speech will remain, he can still be understood despite the errors. But if the person has unintelligible pronunciation, then his or her speech will remain unintelligible, even though they have sophisticated and good grammar. So research has also discovered that errors on prosodic features contributes more to intelligibility failure compared to the errors on sound accuracy. And this actually shows that as English language learners, L2 learners, we need to master prosodic features. However, learning prosodic features is not something easy. This is because of the nature of the languages, which are different. Indonesian is a syllable time language, while English is a stress time language. In a stress time language, the speaker would assume equal time between stressed syllable, and therefore vowel reduction will always occur. There are parts which are strongly stressed and some parts which should be weakly stressed. However, in syllable time language like Indonesian, then we never have vowel reduction, because the speaker will distribute the stress equally in all of the syllables, and the amount of time taken to pronounce each of the syllables would also be the same. And then talking about learning prosodic features, this will be related to the engagement. Okay, I highlighted what Pak Willy also has mentioned in his talk. So whenever we are learning something in schools, then we also need this crucial ingredient, that is the engagement. Engagement is believed to be able to improve students' learning outcomes, also minimizes the risk of failing courses, and also nurtures students' well-being. And then when we are talking about engagement, there are actually 3 dimensions which are involved here. That is cognitive engagement, emotional engagement, and behavioral engagement. Cognitive engagement has to do with the students' effort in learning activities, for example, about their employment of learning strategies, and also about their self-regulated learning, while emotional engagement has to do with affective aspect that the student have, the emotion, their attitude, their motivation, their interests, and also their liking for learning. And behavioral engagement is something that we can readily see, okay, because it's more visible compared to the other 2. It has to do with students' active participation in various learning activities, and also about their state of being on task. As I have mentioned earlier, that learning prosodic feature is something arduous, and indeed it needs intense practice and feedback. Well, at least it's based on my more than 10 years of teaching pronunciation. This is what I always think as important. So intense practice and feedback. However, the process cannot be ideally conducted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So as what happened in Montessori school as well. Okay, so everything is limited, that all mode has turned online, and in some way it constrains teachers' constant monitoring and feedback on students' oral practices and performance. So seeing the situation which is not ideal, then I feel there is a pressing need, at least on my part, to know how far the students are engaged in the course. So I formulate the research question into two. So I would like to know the portrayal of the student engagement in learning prosodic features in an online class. And I would like to figure out what problems they actually face in learning prosodic features in an online situation. I involved my class, so I taught a class of pronunciation last semester. There were 28 students studying pronunciation level 2, which means that in the whole semester, they are studying prosodic features. And the instruments which I used was actually a reflective questionnaire. It's an open-ended questionnaire, which I distributed at the end of the semester, and also my observation from meeting to meeting with the class. I would like now to describe the findings in terms of the behavioral engagement. What I can find from the class was that they show high engagement behaviorally, because whenever it came to synchronous learning, okay, through Zoom, then the students show very high engagement. But it is not so high whenever it came to asynchronous learning mode, but still, it is still high engagement, okay, which is demonstrated by the class. And then in terms of their state of being on task, that I also found that the class show very high engagement as well, behaviorally. They submitted all the assignments, okay, or even some of them submitted far before the deadlines. However, in terms of their voluntary involvement in independent learning, I only found moderate involvement, moderate engagement in this case, because not all of the students are keen on doing independent learning outside class. And also in terms of voluntary involvement in class activity, whenever we met in Zoom meetings, then the behavioral engagement was also found to be low, meaning to say that, well, the students were active only when they were appointed, but they did not offer themselves to participate voluntarily in the activities. And then in terms of the emotional engagement, what I found was that high engagement emotionally was also shown by this class. They like the topics that they are learning. So we are learning stress, rhythm, and intonation. And all of them stated that they are interested in learning these things because this is new for them. Okay, so they didn't learn it earlier in high schools. And also some of them say that they were challenging. Okay, so tricky, but it's quite challenging. But in terms of the enjoyment, the engagement was not so high. So I only found moderate up to high engagement, especially because some of them say, despite their interest in the materials, they felt that some exercises or some topics are not that easy. So that although they had a passion for learning, but then in some cases they felt confused, bored, tired, so that they didn't have full enjoyment throughout the whole semester. And then in terms of their learning attitudes, I found high emotional engagement also in terms of seeing the relevance of the materials they learn and also the usefulness of the materials. So students say that they believe that if they can master this, it can improve their speaking, all right, and also their language proficiency in general. They improve their self-confidence, and even some of them stated that they sounded more like native speakers whenever they can really apply these prosodic features in their speech. However, in terms of the perception of the material, all of them stated that they are difficult. The difficulty here, not only objectively on the topics, because as I said earlier, prosodic features are difficult, but this is also made even more complicated or even made more challenging because of the learning mode, the online learning mode. Okay, so they found it even more difficult studying these difficult topics. And then in terms of motivation, I found that their motivation was much more intrinsically oriented rather than extrinsic, because they said that this is useful for my future as a language users of English, as well as for future language teachers. In terms of cognitive engagement, I found ambivalent responses. For example, in terms of the learning strategy, the mainstream strategy, I found high engagement because they use teachers provided materials that I posted on the LMS. And then they also try to find additional materials from various sources, particularly from YouTube, but they also use some others like TikTok, Spotify, and also additional application. However, in terms of the, additional minor strategies, so the one in red color are the minor ones because not all of them employed this. Asking knowledgeable person, okay, only a few of them did this. So they asked their tutor in a tutorial program, they asked their seniors, or they asked their friends to help. And then some of them also said that they had independent practice, but mostly without feedback. So they just stood in front of the mirror, speaking the sentences out loud, and then nobody gave feedback on their performance. But a few of them has made use of the Google Assistant, for example. Yeah. But unfortunately, not all of them use that. And then a few of them also stated that they had incidental practices with the songs of English and movies. Yeah. But again, this is just incidental, meaning not planned, not structured. And then in terms of the independent learning, self-regulated learnings, what I found was that they only learn from additional sources, the one that I mentioned earlier about using YouTube's, okay, and others, but they did not really review the materials which are given. Very few of them did that. And even if they did, they only did it once in a while, approaching test time, okay, but not as something which is part of their own learning throughout the semester. And then not all, okay, just a minority practice outside class. So this actually shows that in terms of learning autonomy, not all of them have awareness that they should have done some more exercises. They thought that the exercises was only during class time, during Zoom meeting time, which is actually limited. And then in terms of the voluntary search of teachers' feedback, this is also very minimum, meaning to say that they only waited for the teachers to appoint them so that they will give feedback eventually, but they did not really offer themselves to be chosen or to participate so that they can obtain feedback whenever they meet the teachers in the Zoom. So in terms of the problems, this is what I found. Intonation was found to be the most difficult topic of the three. But then there are factors which inhibited their learning, their understanding, due to the online learning that they that they had to do. Connection, okay, the internet connection is the major problem for everyone. They could not really hear my voice in this case whenever I explain or gave models. So the voice was somewhat lagging sometimes. And the teacher, in this case me, could not really hear the student clearly whenever the signal was problematic. And then this kind of situation resulted in incomplete understanding of the material. And then students also complain about the limited time for direct practice and also teachers' feedback and monitoring. Okay, so just like in class time, which is limited. And their motivation was somewhat lowered because of the absence of direct interaction with teachers and the classmate. And some of them, okay, not many, okay, fortunately not many, some of them had problems with their personal stuff like memory problem, low self-confidence, as well as laziness. Well, that is what I found. So actually what I can say is that in general, the findings has given me some kind of portrayal of the feedback of the engagement situation in pronunciation class, learning prosodic features, and also about the problems that can serve as the feedback for my teaching, okay, whenever I teach again. So this semester, I am also teaching pronunciation again. But in terms of the research itself, since this research still has some limitation, I believe that future research needs to follow it up by exploring the phenomena of engagement more thoroughly. Well, I think that's all that I can share. Thank you very much. I will be happy to welcome questions or comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Madhivrida Yulia. That was really fulfilling. Let's give a big round of applause. Okay, now it's time for question and answer session, and in the chat box there are already some questions. Right, so the first question is from Miss Ulil. This question is delivered to Miss Puji Astuti Amalia. I will read the question. Do you have any example on how to teach dialogic reading? And if the dialogic reading meets many challenges in its implementation, is there any solution to face the challenges? Okay, Ms. Puji Astuti, you may have your time to answer the question.
Okay, thank you for the question. So the point of dialogic reading is that there should be an interactive dialogue between during the reading shared reading activity. The teacher can do it by using peer and crowd techniques, such as the teacher can show the book and say, what is this, to the children, and the children can try to answer the teacher's question. Then after that, the teacher can give evaluation, such as that's right, well done, and then the teacher can give expansion, such as can you say red truck, for example, if the truck is the color is red, then after that the student will repeat red truck. Okay, so now the student get a new pattern to combine the adjective and noun, so it can be red truck. So there are challenges of implementing dialogic reading. So what the teacher can do is the teacher can read many literature related to dialogic reading. I think that's the answer, Miss Anna. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Puji Astuti. Ms. Ulil, is that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. But is there any, that from the researchers itself, is there any kind of suggestions to, to give a solutions for the challenges? Because the teachers sometimes sometimes do not have any enough time to read the references. So that's why it is important for the researcher if if they face the challenges, they can also give some solutions from the references, perhaps like that one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Ulil. So some of the challenges that felt by the teachers, was so the first one is, for example, the activity is more effective to be implemented in a small group, because at that time the teacher tried to combine two groups into one, so there were about 8 students, and it was ineffective. And the second meeting, the next meeting, the teacher put the student into a smaller group. So that's the first one. And the second one is so the second one is about time, so actually the theory said that it should be better to do the dialogic reading in about 10 to 20 minutes, but unfortunately at that time the teacher need to review new vocabularies, so that's why they spent about 25 minutes, and that become an issue because students got bored, so the solution is the next time the teacher try to do the activity only in 10 to 20 minutes. I think that's what the teacher that's the teacher solution, Miss Ulil.
Okay, thank you for the explanations.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Ms. Puji Astuti and Ms. Ulil. Now there are more questions from Ms. Ulil addressed to Ms. Veronica. What online platforms do you use for Montessori learning? Ms. Veronica, you may have your time to answer the question.
Thank you, Miss Ulil, for your questions. I use Zoom, actually. I use Zoom meeting, but start from this semester, we try to improve our school by having breakout room. So we can divide the students in breakout rooms. Like they can go to individual learning year 4, year 5, year 6, or we can also create like a consultation room, because some of the students they want to speak like individually with the teacher, only 2%, something like that. So we need private room, we can go there. Zoom, Bu Ulil.
Okay. So do you use Zoom every day or how? In every meeting or how?
Yeah, every day. Start from this semester, start from 8 up to 12. So we need to stand by on the Zoom meeting, something like that. But the students can leave Zoom if they want to. So some of them, they can leave Zoom if there is no schedule or there is no subject, but they can go back again if they have schedule. But some of them also, they just, I want to be here in the Zoom online because they can meet their friends
Okay.
in breakout room. So they can talk to their friends.
Okay. But sometimes when I see my kids, my sons is learning through Zoom, they, what is that? They mostly they kind of unmute the audio and also do not engage with the learning process. Does it happen also in your classroom or how?
Yeah, sometimes they like close their camera or doing something else. Like I have to, hey, come on, Ayu, and something like that. But well, at the first semester, in the beginning, we make a deal with the students to, you need to open your camera, you need to unmute when you are speaking, you need to respect others. If you do not do that, I'm so sorry, I will like remove you from the Zoom. So they know the consequence. Or I can put them in a waiting room. I have implemented that. So if you are if you are talking when someone is talking, or you do not want to open your camera, I'm sorry, I need to make you in a waiting room.
Okay. Does
And
it
they
work?
open. Yeah, it works.
Good.
Earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Veronica and Ms. Ulil. Now, is there any other questions? Is there anyone want to ask question? You may use the raise hand icon, or you may type your question on the chat box. All right. Actually, I have one question for Ms. Madefrida Yulia. Earlier on your presentation, you said that there are some activities like practice outside the class. But how do you know, and how do you like to make sure that students are actually use that time outside the class to really practice on their own? Thank you, Ms. Madefrida. You may have your time to answer the question.
Thank you for the question, Anna. Well, if it is about outside activity, of course, I cannot really have authority to monitor, but at least from the open-ended questionnaire, the reflection sheet which they complete, that is a self report. Okay, so their self-report of the activities, and what I could see is only about the submission. Actually, whenever I, for example, assign students to do something and then they have to show the the result of their outside class learning activities. So only that. Okay, so that is actually part of the limitation, because I could not really follow the students everywhere to monitor that they really did that.
Okay, thank you. But you do give feedback for these students, yeah?
Yeah, okay.
Do you happen to give them like individual feedback or just general feedback?
Mostly general feedback. I mean, during the online learning, yeah, that is what I did. But I used to like giving individual feedback whenever it is an on-site, like face-to-face interaction. Yeah, because I think it's much more effective. Global feedback sometimes the student actually could not really see that the feedback was for them. Okay, yes, so just thinking that, oh, that is not my problem. So they really need to be mentioned that this is for you. Okay, that this is your problem and you need to pay attention to. But unfortunately, due to the time that it cannot be done every meeting, so only certain assignments would be given individual comments, but mostly that would be general feedback, unfortunately, Anna. Yeah, that is, I think, the limitation of the online learning mode nowadays. Yeah, I hope it answers your question.
Yeah, okay, it does. Thank you so much, Miss Frida. Oh yeah, I see Miss Veronica is raising hand. You can unmute yourself, Miss.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for the chance. I have questions to Miss Frida.
Okay.
The question is because in your presentation, there is the engagement from the students being on task. So it's the result is very high, if I'm not mistaken. So it means that they submit the task frequently. So how do you set the class, or yeah, is there any deal or rule so that the students can university students can be on time, or at least always upload the assignments?
All right.
In online, something like that.
Yeah, thank you, Indras, for the question. Usually I posted the materials a few days before the scheduled class so that the students could actually access it long before the class. So that, for example, they had a certain plan on a given day of the class, they could actually still do the assignment and submit, even though they are absent on the D-day of the class. And in that case, it gives them some longer time to prepare for working on the assignments. Okay, so that is one reason why some of the students say that they submitted long before the deadlines. And then we had some kind of consensus, agreement with the class. If they submitted on time, they get 10 points. And if they submitted late, they got only half of the points. And if they did not submit anything, they got 0 points. So this is actually to monitor their participation on the course. Because if it is not conditioned that way, then the students tend to be not learning, because they thought that there was no class, no meeting, especially with the teachers, and they don't feel the responsibility. I mean, in terms of autonomy, they still, Indonesian students need to be conditioned. So the autonomy need to be forced in some way, Actually not autonomy because it's forced, but at least it is conditioned that way, that they had to do the, assignments or certain projects in the pronunciation class. I hope it answers your questions, Indras.
Yes, Miss. Thank you. So the key is the agreement and also prepare the condition.
Yeah, because if not, then it hurts to monitor the student during online learning. We didn't meet every week, so it's hard.
Okay, thank you, Miss Frida.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Frida and Miss Veronica. Now, because our time is limited, let us take a picture together. So everyone, please turn your camera on. We're going to have a group selfies. All right. Okay, Mr. Operator, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, I will count. 1, 2, 3. Again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, everyone. And that's the end of the parallel session 3. And I will remind you that after this, we have a parallel session 4, and it will start at 13:15 p.m. Okay, so thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of the conference and see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.